What's up, dudes and students of the internet? My name's Scyushi, and we are back again for some more Genshin Impact. I hope your day is doing fantastic, wonderful, and I hope this video makes your day even better. So today we're going to be talking about the new 5-star character, Eula. She's finally in the game. Full disclosure, I don't have her, but we can end up using the character trial to give a good idea of her abilities, what have you. And I also have a lot of footage of her, thanks to my buddy who actually ended up rolling for her. Not only her, but he also has her 5-star sword. So I'm going to end up giving a big shout out to my buddy Dank Val right here. We're going to check his information, and yeah, I kind of want to just show you guys very, very briefly what his stats are going to end up being on Eula. So it's actually pretty good. This is kind of what I would consider to be the average end game. Like, this is a decent enough build where, sure, it could be refined and it could end up being that you have slightly better stats than this, but generally speaking, this is what you're aiming for. It's going to be somewhere around this degree, this degree of stats, outside of if you continuously grind for a artifact set and you just so happen to end up getting lucky or okay, cool. Now, anyways, with, the crit rate, crit damage, all that stuff, physical damage bonus is 129%. Absolutely nuts. The weapon itself is going to give a physical damage bonus, and then the artifacts themselves are also going to end up giving a physical damage bonus, which is absolutely crazy. Now, there's two different options you can end up doing for Eula in terms of her artifacts. You can either do what my buddy did, where you go for a 2-piece Bloodstain, 2-piece Pale Flame, because obviously it's going to just end up giving her an extra 50% physical damage. And the thing about Eula is that she will actually be, despite the fact that she's a greatsword cryo character, she actually scales off of physical damage. That is her bread and butter. That's how powerful she's going to end up being. So briefly, just talking about the 5-star sword that you can get for her, basically it's going to end up increasing your attack percentage every time you end up tagging opponents and stuff like that, but it is also going to end up spending stacks in order to end up giving you not only a higher attack percentage bonus, but also an attack speed bonus. Now, one thing I gotta tell you guys about this weapon and just the weapon banners in general is obviously, if you haven't already checked it out, I already got a video that kind of explains how the banners work, and I cannot in good conscience recommend that you guys end up wailing for the weapon banner unless your bank account can handle it. Because, oh my god, this is scary, dude. Like, even my buddy ended up getting like 3 or 4 of the Aqua Flavonia before he ended up getting the Song of the Broken Pines. Because that's the thing, is this banner can always drop one of these two. It can drop other weapons too, but the point is that it's not getting 50-50 back and forth between these two weapons. So you could literally spend thousands and thousands of dollars not getting the weapon that you want just because you keep getting the other weapon. But that is completely different to the banner itself, which obviously is going to end up having much better increased odds of getting Eula, as well as all these 4-star characters, and so on and so on and so forth. So you can always end up just going to the test run right here, even if you don't actually have Eula, so that you can feel it out, see if you end up being a character that you're interested in. And let me tell you, she is cracked. Of course, power creep is going to be a thing with this game. It is a gacha game, which means in the most basic of terms, it means that when a new character gets added to the game, they're usually going to slowly power creep up the newest characters so that they end up being slightly stronger than every other character. Obviously, giving players a lot more incentive to spend money for the newest characters, just because they're going to end up being that much more powerful. But the weird thing about Eula is, again, the fact that she scales off of physical means that you're not really going to see the best benefit if you try to build her for cryo, just because she's not going to scale as well with cryo. Now, anyways, talking about her abilities before we get into the other set bonuses that you can end up using, which is the Pale Flame, which they have a 4-piece set in this area. But anyways, when her elemental skill deals damage to an enemy, Eula gains a stack of Grimheart, which increases her defense and resistance to interruption, meaning quite literally, it's like having a Zhongli shield. You'll have enemies like punching you and you don't get interrupted, which is great when you're a greatsword character because, well, your swings take a lot of time. Grimheart stacks up to 2 times total, and holding her E ability, her elemental skill, will end up spending the Grimheart stacks and convert it into an Ice Whirl brand that deals damage to nearby opponents, decreasing their cryo resistance and physical resistance. So she's gonna end up scaling really well with Ganyu, Rosaria, other cryo characters and stuff like that. But more so, she's going to end up getting that physical resistance down, which means that everyone's going to benefit from it, not just Eula. Now, her ultimate, or her elemental burst, summons a lightfall sword that can be charged with Eula's normal attacks, elemental skills, and elemental burst. So basically, you just attack enemies with her, and you'll end up building... charging her ultimate ability, and after a few seconds the lightfall sword will explode violently, dealing physical damage to nearby opponents based on the amount of energy stored, so attacking faster as fast as possible to end up building energy so that the ult ends up being much stronger, which is quite literally going to go hand in hand with her 5-star sword, which builds attack speed. Yeah. Additionally, elemental orbs will drop down because it's a trial, so we're going to end up being able to actually see her ult in, in action. So I guess before we talk about other sets and stuff that you can build with her, let's just get on with the showcase. So ideally, what you're going to want to do with her is you're going to want to tag enemies twice with your elemental skill so that you can build up the Grim Heart, and then you can end up holding the right click, because as you see, that's just a casual extra damage right there. We can use her ult to keep her from, being knocked down. Sorry, that kind of threw me for a loop right there, having those enemies do that. So you see that sword that was building up and just did 75k physical damage? That is going to end up being the charging sword that was mentioned of course in her in her ultimate ability. And then again, you can see right there what I'm specifically doing is I'm using her E ability, her elemental skill. I'm using it twice before I end up using the charge, and the reason for that is because I know that I'm rocking the Pale Flame set, on top of the fact that using her E ability, as mentioned before, is going to end up giving her Grim Heart stacks, which means you can get 2 of them at a time, and then you can spend them for more damage. So you got tag an enemy 2 times with her elemental skill before you end up using the hold, right? That's what's recommended. But then on top of that, the artifact set of the Pale Flame, this is a 4-piece artifact set, is going to end up making it so that when an elemental skill hits an opponent, attack is increased by 9% for 7 seconds. So the 7 seconds is kind of crucial, but it kind of sucks at the same time. We'll talk about that in a moment. But this effect stacks up to 2 times and can be triggered once every 0.3 seconds. Once 2 stacks are reached, the 2-set effect is increased by 100%, meaning that you are actually getting 100% physical damage. Now, the thing is, when you end up triggering it, obviously, when you end up hitting an enemy and getting the stack of the attack is increased by 9% for 7 seconds, you'll tag an enemy again with your E ability, and as far as I know, that refreshes the cooldown, so it's another additional 7 seconds, which is perfect because her elemental skill is actually going to have a 4-second cooldown between the presses, and then a 10-second cooldown with the hold, which means quite literally tag them twice with your E and then use the hold. Okay, but that's going to end up being the Pale Flame set specifically, which is out of one of the new biomes, or new domains, sorry, which, I mean, if you get really lucky, okay, cool. If you don't, well, good luck. That's all I can say. Let's actually see what other stats they got on her. So they got pretty cracked attack percentage, but my buddy actually, though he has a lower crit rate, he has a much higher crit damage, and he also has a much higher physical damage. Now, the funny thing is, I'm going to be putting a lot of footage of my friend in this video, but basically, he is doing like 8 to 20, like he can do like 15, 17, 20k just with his auto attacks, just with his basic attacks, okay? And then the ultimate ability, we've seen it go up to 130k to even 177k. Unfortunately, I didn't get that on camera. But 177 is the highest value that we've seen with it. And again, you got to keep in mind, this is raw physical damage, not elemental reaction, nothing like that. If she could actually do the same amount of damage with an elemental reaction, that would be absolutely insane. It would actually scale so much higher. But being physical damage means that it's going to end up having benefits against geo enemies, and just in general is going to do consistent damage. That is Eula's strongest point, I would say, is that she is going to do consistent damage just because it's physical. Obviously, you're going to be dealing with some trouble if you're dealing with an enemy, you know, that has a shield or something like that. You're still going to have to use like your other teammates to hopefully help you compensate with that. But anyways, let's talk about her other talents as well. So I would recommend, as far as leveling is concerned, probably just leveling her base attack as a priority, just because again that's going to end up upping the percentage value of the damage, and for the most part that's where all of her damage is going to come from. Obviously her E ability is going to end up being pretty good, just because for the most part the biggest reason you're going to be using this is because it's going to lower that physical damage resistance, like I said, and I mean it decreases cryo resistance as well, but that's not as big a deal with when it comes to Eula. The ult is actually what ended up doing 177k with my buddy, because it deals physical damage. Despite the fact that the first attack is going to do cryo damage, once you end up fully charging her ultimate ability, that's what's actually going to end up doing physical damage, which is pretty insane. So then her passive abilities, if 2 stacks of Grim Hearts are consumed upon unleashing the holding mode of her E ability, a shattered Lightfall sword will created that will explode immediately, dealing 50% of the basic physical damage dealt by a Lightfall sword created by glacial illumination. So basically it's going to do, you know, when your ult sword is fully charged, it's your E ability when you use 2 stacks of the Grimheart is going to do 50% physical damage of your ult, which the physical damage aspect of it. So it's not going to be doing cryo, it's just extra damage. When Glacial Illumination is cast, which again is her ultimate ability, the cooldown of her E ability, Ice Tide Vortex, is reset and Eula gains 1 stack of Grimheart. Meaning that if you are ready to use your ult, and let's say you don't have any stacks of Grimheart, it means use your ult, you already got 1 stack, use your E once, and then you can just end up using your charge ability. So technically, like, she can be a pretty technical and weird character if you're just getting into her. Like, it's gonna take a while to get used to her gameplay, I'll say that. When you look across character talent materials, she has a 10% chance of receiving double the product. Okay, cool, whatever. Let's actually see if we can end up doing this again, just because I want to do this as a quick little example where we'll do her ult to get 1 Grim stack and then another one right there. But the whole thing is that, again, if you're using the Pale Flame set, obviously that was 133k right there. Absolutely cracked character. The Pale Flame set specifically builds off of your elemental skill, meaning that even though I used my ult to get 1 Grim stack, it didn't end up building the stack towards the Pale Flame set. Near as my understanding is working. But here we go. So we've got a 2nd Grim Heart stack right now. And then we can do our E ability, which that wasn't a crit, so it only did like 10k. But still, I mean, you can already see this girl slaps, dude. And that was our ultimate right there, which I completely missed. But my god, it did a lot of damage either way. I can't believe how powerful she is. Let's do her E. Oh my god, his kneecaps are backwards. The other thing too is when you have her ultimate ability, like when you have this up, there not only is going to end up being the sword around her head is going to slowly get more and more powerful, but her cape is actually going to visually become more and more glowy as you end up building up her ult ability, which is pretty cool. And as far as the character design is concerned, personally, it's not my favorite. I do feel that it fits with the game. It's just there's a lot of things that I kind of find weird about it. But the best thing about her is just her animations are so freaking smooth, dude. Like, she looks absolutely great and feels like the thing that I love about her character design is her basic attacks are probably some of the coolest in the game. And the thing that I think is so cool about it is because she's swinging the sword around so effortlessly, it makes her feel like she's really powerful. Like she's maybe doing a lot of physical damage, because that's the whole point, right? Now, if we end up leaving and I end up being perfectly honest with you guys, should you end up rolling for her? I mean, if you like seeing damage numbers, then yeah, she's absolutely insanely powerful. And the thing is, because she's physical, again, it means what's a team comp? Like, you don't need to build anyone around having her in your group. Obviously, certain characters are going to end up having her benefit from having them in your party, but generally speaking, she is just a free character you can throw into almost any group, and she will slap and do a lot of damage. On top of that, do you like her character design? Then sure, go for it. I mean, I personally would consider her to be the 5-star version of Rosaria, another substitute weapon. You don't have to be using her 5-star weapon. You can get away with using the ice greatsword that you get from Dragonspine, which plenty of videos on YouTube that tell you how to get that. But why am I not wishing for her? I mean, personal preference. There's also a character coming in version 1.6 that I'm holding out all of my wishes for. You've probably heard of him, but I can't really go into detail about it because, you know, leaked information and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I'm not the biggest fan of Eula, despite the fact that she seems like a lot of fun based on what I saw with my buddy. Again, big shoutouts to my buddy Dank Val for actually supplying a lot of the footage that we ended up using here today. Okay, thanks for watching, gamers. Really appreciate it. Smash like, sub for more. Buy the merch you want to support the channel, and have yourselves a fantastic day.